Now, for more on Latin America and COVID's impact, we're joined by Remi Piet, live from Miami. Lucky fellow to be down there. He's senior partner at Embellie Advisory. Remi, welcome back to the program. Look, this is such a big topic, such a huge topic. We don't have time to cover every base. But my understanding is that there has been a recalculation on Latin American prospects economically in just the last month. What can you tell us about that?
Well, yes. I mean, in recent years, when you actually try to have a forecast on 2022 for certain numbers of Latin American economies, you've seen a reduction of those forecasts, especially Mexico and Brazil, with the IMF, looking at 2.8% of economic growth in Mexico and 0.3% in Brazil, and that's a decrease of a little above 1%. And what's interesting to look at is actually the cause, the reason for this, recalculation of forecast. And different countries in Latin America are impacted differently from COVID. Some of them are see this kind of recalculation is the result of the likely tightening of the US market, which is so important for Mexico. In the case of Brazil, it's more in terms of the potential stagnation of prices of commodities after a very strong 2021 year, and so that will impact differently Brazil. There are still opportunities in Latin America, though.
And my understanding is that this recalculation, which you just explained very well, is actually coming from a US perspective. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, you have here to maybe analyze about the different, relationship between some of those countries and China and the United States. There are, in the case of Mexico, obviously the relationship in terms of markets and trade with the NAFTA agreements, is very important. But some other countries might actually benefit from a potential increase in Chinese growth in the near future, especially some, energy producing countries or commodity producing countries. I'm thinking about Chile, Peru, in the near future for commodities, or other countries, Mexico and Brazil actually for energy. Other countries such as Guyana and Suriname that have seen a strong surge of reserves for energy here, and those are countries that might actually benefit from balancing their relation both with the US and China. Other countries such as the Dominican Republic are actually at a quite positive outlook in terms of the retaking of the tourism sector and potentially opportunities in natural resources sector. So you see the reality is much more complex, and indeed relationship with China and relationship with the US will matter, especially with China having become the first trade partner of the continent over the last few years.
Right. I mean, the investment by China in Latin America is still quite tiny, though, isn't it, compared to the investment and the influence of the United States? Is that right?
It's a different perspective here. Obviously, you have historical ties with a series of countries with the United States, but you also have, when it comes to demands for commodities that I was mentioning, when it comes from potential export, new countries for exports, you have new markets opening towards in China for Latin American countries, and also other regions in the world. Such as the Middle East and others, and you see the stronger links with those regions. In terms of the United States, the problem that you have here is that historically the terms of trade have been very beneficiary in terms of the same kind of production and competition between Latin American countries, all focusing on, let's say, the car industry in the US or different services and goods. And when it comes to the new coming development of sectors, whether it's fintech or it's commodities or other strong sectors of agro-industry, especially from Brazil, the new markets here are the Chinese market, and that's why their approach to their relationship with China is so important, but also maintaining good relationship with the United States down the road.
So what would you, we're a business program, as you know, what would you say to potential investors out there around the world wondering about investing in Latin America countries and the region as a whole? What would you say to them, given everything you've just told us?
Well, this is a great question. First of all, you have to look at the different perspective. Each country is obviously a very specific business environment and question of political stability. So there needs to be a little bit more drilling down of different opportunities. You have countries when you have to look at their capacities to develop and continue furthering economic development. Peru is one that is interesting. It took a toll after the elections last year and a little bit of political instability in a country. But at the same time, you still could see the strong business environment in this country. Another a country which is still very much of interest is Brazil, because even if we were looking at a return of the PT in power, this is a regime that has been also very pro-business in his first term, especially when Lula was in first term in power. So that doesn't mean a shift away from let's say the pink tide or right-wing tide. So it's not so much a political swing. Here the key element is to understand the quality of governance of countries, understand the local level also when you're investing, understand who is your natural market or the sphere of influence of your project. But once you understand this and you have sound fundamentals, and this is a continent that offers a lot of opportunities, especially in natural resources, in infrastructure, and has a very well, let's say, trained workforce as opposed to other emerging markets. So, I mean, in the long run, Latin America offers some very good opportunities once you are able to analyze each of the countries and see their kind of above the ground risk, counterparty risk assessment for specifically areas of socioeconomic risk on investment.
Wow. Remi, I feel I've just received a degree in Latin American studies in 4.5 minutes. You're fantastic.
Talkative. Thank you very much for listening to me, John, on this one.
Thank you very much.